I don't see them. I see neither of them.
And you want to see them? Yeah. We do have a full. There is someone joining us by phone, I'm not sure.
So Kevin, while we're pre-meeting,
Excuse me.
when you're done,
Yeah.
how do you feel about the resolution now? Do you want to move forward with it?
Can't hear anything. I can't hear.
Hi, everyone. We
There.
have one of our two DSNY reps with us. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes to see if we can be joined by the others. So give us a few more minutes. Oh, we're all here. We're ready to go. There's quite a lot. So we'll see how I do it, and then you can take it up when you're ready. Are we ready? We are ready. So welcome to the May 7, 2026 meeting of the Public Safety and Sanitation Committee. My name is Stuart Desser, and I'm chair of the committee. Tonight we're joined by Community Coordinator Brian Lafferty. This meeting is called to order at 18:33. Unless someone wants to volunteer now to take minutes. I can take minutes. Volunteer we have. Brian, please take attendance. If anyone joins us, and we do expect more. Yes. Let's go.
Present.
Our meeting was distributed ahead of time, and will be reflected on the screen if Brian can just catch up with my recipe. But you've all seen it. Without objection, we'll adopt it. Seeing no objections, the agenda is adopted. The minutes from March 30, 2026 meeting were distributed to the committee. Without objection, we'll adopt them as drafted. Seeing no objection, the minutes are adopted. Without objection, we'll suspend the rules requiring committee members to be recognized before speaking. But for this first agenda item, I prefer to give precedent to the panelists anyway. Our meeting tonight is essentially a forum. A number of our neighborhood groups and associations and did get to speak with the New York City Department of Sanitation, DSNY. From DSNY, we're pleased to be joined by District 6 Superintendent Kieran Phillips and DSNY's Director of Outreach, Andrew Files. From our community, I believe we're joined tonight, and I'll do this alphabetically, by the Alliance for Kips Bay, the Beekman Place Association, the East Midtown Partnership, which is a business improvement district, Friends of Dag Hammarskjöld Plaza, the Gramercy Neighborhood Associates, Kips Bay Neighborhood Association, Murray Hill Neighborhood Association, Rose Hill Initiative, Sutton Area Community, Tudor City Association, and Turtle Bay Association. Sanitation is clearly an issue of interest to us all, and the record shows that there are more independent. For those of you on Zoom who received panelist invitations from the office, you have control over your Zoom mute button. I think there's around 35 of us present tonight, so for the sake of order, it's preferred you raise your hand and be recognized before you speak. Anyone online who did not receive a panelist invitation directly from the office, you can still raise your hand. You just have to flip a switch here before you can unmute. Director Hoyles and Superintendent Phillips, since you're both the center of attention tonight, there's no reason for you to raise your hand, just speak when appropriate. So, DSNY District Superintendent Phillips starts his day somewhere before the sun rises. I think a long time before the sun rises. And he seems to work well past midday, so I think his body thinks that it's now midnight. So we especially appreciate you being with us tonight. I think he represents exactly the kind of public official that we most appreciate, who makes the city work, who's very responsive to our concerns, and he's, of course, here with us at midnight. His realm, as I understand, leans toward running day-to-day operations effectively and efficiently. I believe also from DSNY, Director Hoyles will speak with us more about policy, including the coming of containerization. So we're similarly grateful for you to be here, and I mean that sincerely, not pro forma. It's really useful. One issue.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but your voice is coming through really garbled. It's very difficult to understand you. I don't know if it is just me or if it is your mic. So in order.
Nope, it's everyone.
Okay.
We have moved this annoying device closer to me, and I will speak slower and pretend that I'm capable of enunciation, and we'll see if it works.
Works now.
Yeah, it's better.
It's better, yes.
Way better.
So one issue that I think involves both of your realms at DSNY, and which several groups tonight have raised, is their wish to purchase their own corner trash receptacles and have the city collect from them. That's among the questions that we forwarded to you from all of the groups. So I'm guessing you're pretty well prepared to field that one as well as the other issues we've raised. That does bring to the fore a general question about relationships. The bids and neighborhood associations in our community are genuine assets. For the neighborhoods they represent, in addition to everything else they do, they bring a collective voice to the local concerns, which in turn helps the city decide where to focus. Most significantly, bids and neighborhood associations are effectively force multipliers, enhancing the city's work, providing services and materials that the city does not. In return, they aim for a symbiotic relationship with the city. The city, of course, is required to steward its resources, allocating them fairly and operating with great efficiency. So I think we all understand the tension, but ultimately we all want to work in concert. Although each of our neighborhood groups and bids could speak directly with DSNY separately, one reason that we have you all here together tonight is because even issues that might appear to be very parochial might end up revealing a commonality between the various groups. So not that I expect any of you are shy, but don't be shy about raising issues. One last thing, here at the community board, we produce both a district needs statement and a budget request. So what we hear tonight will help us better appreciate what the bid and neighborhood groups express as needs, and from where DSNY might see its resources being allocated. So I'd like to give Superintendent Phillips and Director Hoyles each an opportunity to introduce yourselves. And since you've seen some questions in advance, I'd be glad if you just want to respond up front, and then we'll let the panelists from the neighborhood groups jump in. So why don't we start with Superintendent Phillips? I see you with us.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Oh, all right. How you doing? I'm Superintendent Phillips. I've been assigned to District 6 for about 6 months now. And I'm glad to be here to hear your complaints and hear the issues and work on resolving them. I'm here on my own time, trying to drive my way home so I can sit down properly and enjoy this meeting. But I'll let Mr. Andrew go first and address all your questions, and then hopefully I'm home by then.
Looks to us like you're in San Francisco.
Driving across the Bay Bridge right now.
So, Director Hoyles, please.
Sure. Thanks. So, I'm here at my desk. Can you all hear me fine, first off?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So thanks for having me. I work in the Bureau of Public Affairs, and my role mostly has to do with the different programs and policies that roll out around the city of Newark. Some of the things that I'll be talking about, the NYC bin mandate later on when we get to those questions. Perhaps the expansion of, the stationary on-street containers or the Empire bins. And, since the first question was related to, block associations or bids purchasing their own bins, well, the Department of Sanitation has been moving in this direction of containerization of waste, right? This is first started with containerization of waste with businesses. There was a mandate for containerization for small residential households, and then that's also containerization of the waste that bids put out, right? From those type of decisions that came down, really for the reasoning being to make sure that trash bags aren't on the curb, which attract rodents, which cause issues with mess on the streets. The city wanted to move in a direction that allowed for bids to be able to participate with containerization of waste in a way that makes sense for them. So purchasing your own receptacles, the tricky part about that, really, it doesn't ensure that the receptacles that are out there are rodent resistant or rodent proof. Sanitation moved in the direction essentially of requiring, the bins that are out at the curb, those corner bins, to be purchased with council member or it's purchased with discretionary funds through the city council or through the community board. And that allows us to have programs like the Clean Curbs program, where there can be, essentially a locked bin that's at the curb where trash bins are accessed by sanitation workers who can empty those out for servicing. However, it doesn't allow for individual groups, right, like a bid or a neighborhood association to purchase their own corner baskets, so to speak, because we've moved from sort of a type of, I don't want to say free for all, but just an allowance of any single community entity to purchase their own baskets and put them there, to having a more uniformed approach and a uniformed funding mechanism and allocation. My colleague Antonio, who sits right over to the left of me, he works with all of the areas of the city on their discretionary funding with sanitation, so they can get supplemental basket collection service for those really dirty hot spots that one might have in their neighborhoods, or on accessing the new NYC bins that we have for the parts of the city. So it's a mouthful, but it is at this point we support those neighborhood groups working with their elected officials essentially for to use their discretionary funding for that type of basket or those receptacles for the clean curbs.
The standard baskets that you purchase.
The standard baskets, those ones, but also there are the clean curb locked bins that are on a segment of the street that would be part of a bid.
So let me ask if someone from Beekman Place first wants to respond to that,
Yeah, let me pull up my question sheet too, just so I have it up against my screen.
or Pam Sutton Area Association?
Rob has his hand raised.
Yes,
Okay, Rob from the East Midtown DID, thank you. You're muted.
Oh,
We,
hi.
okay.
I think this is Jen from Beacon Place.
Hi Pam,
Sorry, this is Jen Gunsberger from Beacon Place.
hi Jen, let Rob respond and then we'll come to you.
Sorry.
No,
Sure.
that's okay, 10 seconds, and I can't believe kept myself muted. You'd think after 6 years we'd get this down, right? But I just want to just jump up as a kind of a point of clarification. The phrase bids putting out their trash, remember, that's public trash that is not generated by the bid. We are doing a public service by sweeping the streets and sidewalks. And I only point it out because I actually love containerization. I'm a convert, I'll admit, but I've come to love containerization. But it's always been a sore point from the days when Commissioner Tisch was there, that was called bid trash. Me and my two employees do not generate 100 some odd bags a day. So I just want to, my colleagues, I'm the only bit I think on the call today, but my colleagues would find it offensive. So for future reference, that's all.
Oh, thank you for that. You know, we have talking points, and I read some of them earlier today, and I think I just read bid trash, and I shouldn't have. I know it's not your trash, certainly, and what you all do is critical to the functioning of the city, certainly.
Can we hear from Jen?
Yeah, so thank you so much, Andrew. I'm in the position with Beacon Place where we actually already have Big Belly stations in our neighborhood. We used to have 6 bins that were purchased for our neighborhood probably 30 years ago. And those were, really old and needed to be replaced. And so we raised funds and we purchased 2 to replace 6. So like cleaning up. But I guess one thing I'm just curious about with New York City is it seemed like for a while, big belly stations were something that you were seeing popping up in neighborhoods. Of course, they're all over Boston. And that's why our neighborhood association selected Big Belly. And also because we saw them in parks and Parks was using them. So we're like, okay, this is consistent. We like consistency. We were all for that. And so we thought that was the direction they're going. So I guess the first question is that not the direction that the city is going in terms of, neighborhood containerization? And what do we do with the situation right now where we have Doe Fund who collects the trash and carries it out to First Avenue, where then it is then picked up by DSNY on the street when containerization comes? Like, where is Doe Fund supposed to put that trash?
Yeah, so I might need like a little clarification on your first question. I certainly can get into the details of like containerization of where material needs to be placed for collection. Those would be those kind of like those city bins that I was talking about with clean curbs. If you're talking about like from what I think what I heard as you're saying, is the city at large shifting away from like supporting big bellies? Is that kind of what you're framing
Yeah,
it
like
as?
Parks
Yeah,
used to have
yeah,
big bellies were popping
yeah,
up everywhere, and
yeah,
Parks helped us actually install these big bellies because
yeah.
they're right at the foot of a park.
Right, right, right. Yeah, some of the key issues, I guess I want to say, the big bellies are great. They really were solving an issue. There's a maintenance cost, right? There is a capacity issue, right? That I'm aware of that exists for those types of bins, and then just a servicing issue that whereas a more maybe standard corner basket does have a little bit more capacity for passerbyers trash. And there's just there's a lower cost, and I believe like going towards, looking at where we're at right now with how things cost, that has been some of the decision around it. Ultimately sanitation really has been moving towards containerization as a way that can be mirrored around the entire city. And our corner baskets that we started to our better bin, we were able to kind of identify that and find that out in that process. There's a little bit of the reasons why we're going towards that. I'm not saying that we're like not promoting big bellies, but there are different costs associated with those than with and the maintenance than there are with, for instance, our better bin that is at the curb. Or the dough fund servicing those and storing that material at curbs. So same with any containerization rule, any material placed at the curb has to be in a bin. So that could be in one of those city bins that are part of a clean curb bin, right? Where we will service, we have the keys to access those. And it could also be in a receptacle that if BID was actually storing those receptacles, then they could place those curbside. Now, my understanding is that BIDs had been given the guidance and procedures on, accessing and funding those curbside city bins to store materials, which, for instance, the dough fund would be placing their trash in there, and then sanitation would be servicing.
So just to be clear on this, they're taking the trash out of the big belly and putting it, and you would require them to put them in a different kind of container. And the question is, can't DSNY just pull it straight out of the big belly?
Right.
Right. And Superintendent Phillips, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're not servicing those directly.
Not sure about the big bellies on Beekman Place, but I know it was an issue with the servicing of the big bellies, them being overfull. The keys was breaking to get in, and that's the issues of overall serviceability. So when Snow Fund, they service it, I think, twice a day, and then they drop the bags. We have like a few containerized locations already on 56, 52nd, and I think 48th Street, where they drop off all the bins, and then we service it from there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
but that's
Yeah,
not what really happens. The Doe Foundation cleans the streets and they pile the bags on each of the corners next to the trash cans. They do that on 2nd Avenue, they do it on 1st Avenue, and that's what they do with it. And then the sanitation department usually, when they're doing their route, they will pick up the bags. Does anyone agree with me on that? Do you see that in the neighborhood?
Yes,
that's what we see.
that's what's happening.
Yeah, so no
But they are
one's
moving
no one's
towards-
bringing them to 52nd Street or 56th Street.
Let me just bring Pam into this with the
Sure.
area community, because I
Sure.
think you have a comparable issue.
Yes, well, we do. And our issue is in the cul-de-sacs, at 58th, 57th, and 56th. And that is that now what people are doing is they're just throwing their bags on the curb at the end of the cul-de-sac. They also, some have the gray, containers, but most of them are just thrown on the curb. What our solution is city bins, hoping, and we discussed this with Superintendent Phillips, and that is that we could purchase privately a city bin, get it to the end of the cul-de-sac, and then the DSNY would be able to pick it up. Now, what you're saying, Andrew, is that you have the key to get into city bins, and that you would be, then the trucks and the drivers would open the doors, take the bin out and the bag, and throw it into the truck. Would that be what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's as I was explaining it, like containerization in that level is what should be happening. And so
Yeah.
as I'm jotting some notes, I'm hearing that that's not necessarily happening with some of the big bellies, which I know is a different issue with the different association, but
So my question is one, is regarding these city bins. You do approve the city bins, that they're purchased privately. They would sit at the end of the cul-de-sac, and on the trash pickup days, then they would go into the city bin and take the trash out. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, so that
Okay.
is how it's supposed to be happening.
Great. So my question is then, and this is to Jen. This is just to Jen's issue and with the big belly. And so then, are you saying that then the big belly trash that's taken out by the Doe Fund and taken to First Avenue, would you then require a city bin to be there in order for you to pick up the trash there? And would they have a city bin there as well? So, I mean, so if the Doe Fund took the trash bag out, brought it to First Avenue and put it into a city bin, would that be acceptable for you to pick up?
Yeah, as long as I'm not having to pay the city bin, but I think it still goes back to the point where it's hard to like understand that the Department of Sanitation in New York doesn't pick up all the garbage. Like that's just like I still wrap my head. What you're explaining is fine, but like big picture, guys, it's kind of funny, isn't it? In a way, I mean, God bless the Dope Fund,
Yeah.
Right.
but like
Without,
they're an
with,
extension of
yeah.
DSNY. Like
But
let's so if I
without
think
them,
that way, then
without them,
fine.
our streets would be a lot dirtier. 100%. I agree with you.
Yeah.
100%.
I guess it's
I
just
just
trying
want to go.
to name it. It's um sanitation just wants to move towards containerization, so the bags being placed at the curb is more of the issue. Like what participants purchasing and having their own city bins installed and then maintaining that container so that we can service them. That allows us to service a containerized trash pile, I guess what I'm trying to say.
Director, what I'm understanding is that while sometimes the trash is emptied multiple times a day, so there does have to be a storage bin. There seems to be a lot of extra effort going here because the neighborhood groups in the bid are removing trash from a container and moving it someplace else for you to then pick it up. And the question is, isn't there a way that you can pick it up directly, whether it's fixing the locks on the big bellies, whether it's getting approval. So I think SAC was looking at getting its own trash bins because it felt that they were more aesthetic, but they also seem to function the same way as the approved bins do. And it looks like it wouldn't be more difficult for Superintendent Phillips crews to collect from them. So that's what we're looking for. Why waste all this energy moving trash from one place to another just so that you can collect it later?
It's the war on the rodents, and we try to containerize, get the garbage in the bins, the city bins, which all the big companies are required to purchase eventually and have at a centralized location. So there will be no bags on the curb, because at the same time that the city is making everybody containerize their personal trash, and the city is leaving bags on all the corners, it's sort of a slap in the face to the community. So that's what part of the reason they're going to containerizing all the bins, all the bid bags.
I think, just to be clear, I
No,
think
I'm sorry.
everyone probably appreciates containerization, but here you've got an extra step going on, and containers that may not be necessary. And Director Hoyle, you're on mute, so when you were talking before, we knew you were saying something, but we were.
Oh no, Superintendent Phillips started chiming in, so I just muted myself because he's a superintendent. So I want to make sure that that he can talk.
Very good. But what we're bringing to you, I think, is a policy question, and you see a
Yeah.
number of groups
Certainly.
who want something that, and I don't think it's fair to corner you because you're not going to make the final decision, although we're kind of cruel here and we don't mind doing that. But to the extent that you can recognize that there's a common concern among many of these groups, I think that's something that you should bring back and see if it can be considered. And we won't try to resolve it tonight because I think we understand the issue at this point. Kevin.
Yeah, I want to jump in. I'm Kevin O'Keefe, and I am a member of this committee, but also work with the St. Martin Park Conservancy. My question is about storage yards that are on the street or on the sidewalk or both. So if you take 35th Street between the Second Avenue and First Avenue and 36th Street, there's huge storage yards for a Second Avenue water main project that's 6 years past its original completion date. We, the Conservancy, brought in urban pest management to see what we can do about the rat situation in the park. And they said the issue is the storage yards. We keep the park clean, but they come from the storage yards, so much so that we had to convince the Parks Department, thank you, Commissioner Tricia Memora, where they came in and did a rat mitigation only because the trash was not cleaned up. We have a volunteer program that does that, but Commissioner Tisch, when she was commissioner, said, we prefer you not go out into areas like that and pick up the trash with volunteers. Well, what's the solution then?
And before you answer, Mario with the Rose Hill Initiative raised a similar issue. Mario, would you, and your hand is raised, so you please unmute yourself before you speak.
Yeah, thank you. I think that the containerization and all of that is quite great, and I applaud that because it should make life easier for everybody. The only thing that I believe that is happening here is that we are making the whole process very cumbersome, and with the fact that there is an increase in our residential communities of people, of bodies, etc. We need a better system in order to collect that and to alleviate what the problems is with the pests that some of those excesses of garbage bags, etc., are creating in the area. I mean, and mainly I'm talking about Lexington Avenue in the stretch from 32nd, 33rd, all the way down to the 20s, low 20s, and then again 6th, 7th Avenue, etc., etc., etc.
So Superintendent or Director, would you like to respond?
I'd love a little bit more clarification and just adding in that department, what I believe you all know, like Department of Sanitation, as far as our rodent mitigation efforts, they're on the trash that's set out curbside. So when you were talking, I wasn't completely certain if this location was within our jurisdiction, if I'm honest, right? And I don't want to go in that direction, but that sometimes is the reality check of how agencies can deliver their services.
Thank you. That's the conundrum, because what Commissioner Tisch, Commissioner at the time, said was, we understand that garbage is piling up, again, away from the sanitation pickup spots, but there's so much trash there. And of course, we have a volunteer group that wants to go in and clean it up. And she goes, we prefer you not do that. Well, if you're not going to pick it up, sanitation, and we're not allowed to bring volunteers in, and by the way, I'll be fair to admit, we do it anyway. We climb over and clean up the trash. We don't want rats, but I'd really like there to be some, you can arrest me if you want. But there needs to be some understanding of who's responsible for the trash in those storage yards. Is it the construction and the contracting individuals?
Yeah.
We spoke with them and they said, we'll try our best, and they never do clean it up.
Right.
But there is also another problem. I'm sorry to chime in here, but there is the private services that they are picking up trash from some of the stores and some of the companies that they are not serviced by DSNY. So what is the situation there with these people? Because their garbage piles up and stays there forever. And that is causing problems. And I don't think that they're using the containerization that we are trying instead to promote for the rest of the city.
Okay, so just thank you for these details. There's a few things, and I'll start with volunteer cleanups, because volunteer cleanups happen citywide, and you can, groups work with us to get their tools from us, and they'll do these cleanups, and they put the bags of trash curbside. We coordinate with them for a day of pickup of when those bags are placed. This kind of, is a little bit of a I wouldn't want to say workaround because the material's not containerized, but that could be some type of a solution, right? This isn't sanitation material if it's construction debris, if it's a private entity or if it's a private business, right? That material has to be carted by a private carter, and all carters, all businesses, excuse me, they are required to do containerized their waste as well, for what's set out for their collection. So when that's not taking place, and Mario, I see you're trying to jump in. Just one last thing: when that's not taking place, sanitation does enforce. Against businesses, whether it's against the construction business or against whatever that location is, right? That the enforcement of that is by typically through 311 or through reaching out to to us or my office, our customer service team, with the documentation, and then we can talk to our enforcement division about, like, hey, this is something we're getting a lot of flack from the community about. Can we send an enforcement officer there to inspect, right? They have the right in their jurisdiction to go and look at the scenario and see if any of the rules are being broken. And I hope that in that mouthful, that's some bit of the answer there. But I do believe if this material isn't sanitation's jurisdiction, then it does get challenging for me to be able to say, like, oh yeah, we can definitely pick up that material, because if it's not in our our scope of work.
And when you say private, do you mean, because the Second Avenue water main project is actually a city-funded project? Are you saying that the contractor construction company is private, thus
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
it
So,
needs a challenge, even if they're
Right.
not doing the job and they're sending rats
Yep.
to the Gotcha.
So
Yep.
Thank you for that
superintendent,
Yeah, as
clarification.
we're working on like commercial waste zones, we're working with a lot of these partners that are city funded or they're city agencies, but they're using a contract with a private that has a private vendor on it. Right. So
so
it does get tricky.
Superintendent Phillips, don't your supervisors who are out there patrolling issue summonses for exactly these conditions?
Yes, they can issue summonses once they find conditions, or they can report it and we can escalate it up to, if it's out of our jurisdiction, we could try to see what's going on with the lot. You said 35th Street, 1st to 2nd, and where else?
It's 35th Street between First and Second Avenue, and it's actually Tunnel Approach Street and Second Avenue. And on 36th Street, it's between Tunnel Approach Street and First Avenue. There are storage yards that actually make the sidewalks, the 36 sidewalk you can't use. It's all blocked, but it also goes onto the street, the storage yard for that project.
And go ahead, Pam.
Yeah, my comment to that is that when it comes to construction debris and so forth, and that the DSNY can't come by to issue summons quickly enough, is that a 311 call? And that then the DSNY will be on alert to go and give them a summons.
Correct. You could call 301, or you could email or call Mr. Doyle's office, or you could email me directly, and I'll send a supervisor over there, and we'll get eyes on it. Especially the businesses. If you think a business is not containerized, then you could call me. One of my supervisors will definitely go over there and issue a summons if they find a violation. Sometimes I'll even go out and issue the summons if I need to. Please.
Wonderful.
So-
Yeah, I think it's important to name like 311 as being the key, like non-emergency trackable recording service for any entity in the city to kind of report things. But then we do have a customer service line. We do log things. We do daily send that to the field. The field checks on it, exactly what Superintendent Phillips is talking about. It's just the sort of the difference is 311 is that you submitted that and it's recorded within the city record, so to speak, and not the city, but it's recorded in that form. But if you reach out to us, and there's a crazy day happening, I might not check my inbox and see that there's this email that came into customer service, and that's just the one difference. We're happy to have them come in to both.
If I may ask a question, so what I'm hearing is that we can use 311 and we can report these issues. What is the sanitation's role in foreseeing and observing these issues before we have to observe it? Isn't that the job of the supervisors out in the field to notice this already and take care of it? Like, I don't understand. Like, why are we the foot soldiers for the sanitation department? You guys are the supervisors. You can't drive by and see a site that has issues already? Like, I don't understand. Why are we doing your job?
I wouldn't phrase it in those exact terms. I would say that you'd have to understand that the role of the supervisor who's in the field is actually responding probably to many other 3-in-1s at the moment. And they're coming in from a district for all different types of waste issues, whether they're residential waste, commercial waste, cleaning. It could be an issue, right? If it's not necessarily a trash setup, but it also could be a cleaning issue. There's hazardous and household waste items that have to be picked up, for instance, Freon or other CFC containing devices. There could be derelict vehicles that they're doing checks on throughout their shift, and this is in the entire district, right? So I do think that there's the importance of 3-in-1 is a way to be a kind of a diligent good neighbor and notifying the city. We are out there at the same time making observations, but they are working through their sort of pool of work that they have as well. And you know, if and Superintendent Phillips can jump into talking about this, but if there is something that sort of supersedes the import or the critical nature of something, then they'll go to that instead, right? Like trash is important, and also if there is a derelict vehicle blocking, you know,
Right.
a fire hydrant or
get
something like
that.
that, then they have
Right.
to work on that first.
Understood.
Yeah, and I
My-
think, Dominic, I think, you know, in my experience, and I haven't had the opportunity to work with Karen, Superintendent Phillips yet, although my husband has, I know, and I'm excited to work with you as well, Andrew. We used to work with Officer Bianco, and he would help us issue summons. And some days, like what they're suggesting, you know, just being a good neighbor, and I think you should turn it over and tell everybody what a good neighbor you are and everything that you do. But I have had situations where I've contacted Officer Bianco, and he's like, "Yeah, I just walked by and saw that mess. I'm writing him a summons." So just to give you one example of they are out there looking and seeing what we're seeing, but probably not to
Right.
the extent that you're seeing on 49th Street, which you should bring up.
Well, so I live at 10 Beekman and 10 Mitchell, right off of Beekman, and every other Sunday as I can, I actually clean from the FDR all the way up to Second Avenue, and I come up Second Avenue and then come all the way down back to First Avenue, and I use, you know, bags from my building, and I sometimes get a few people with me, sometimes I don't. I actually was on the drive this Sunday because of the bike race, and it was completely empty, and I cleaned the whole exit from exit 10 all the way forward, and I don't mind doing it. I run my own architectural company in New York, and I do what I can, but I just, to be very, very honest, I just find the city dirty, and it's very discouraging. Sunday after Sunday after Sunday, and this morning, I witnessed the sanitation picking up at 3 Mitchell, and they shoved so many bags in the back of the truck when the whatever you call that piece came down and imploded all the bags. All the garbage went all over the street. And you know what they did? They drove away. And I got my bucket out after coming home from the gym at 7:30 in the morning, and I cleaned all of Mitchell Place down to First Avenue. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm just going to call 311. I'm going to get the number of the truck and I'm going to report them. It is not the first time it's happened. That's what I'm talking about. That is my frustration in all of this. I know everyone's talking about containment and so on and so on. It's all great. But the fact is, this city's dirty and there's got to be a way to clean it up efficiently. And your department, the sanitation department, needs to do a better job. Period.
Oh, wait.
And Superintendent Phillips and Director Hoyle, is it okay if after this meeting we distribute your email addresses to the participants of this forum?
Yes, it's
Or
fine
is
with me.
Yeah, but actually, the customer service line for an email is better for
So
concerns and complaints like that, because I'm in policy and programs, right? Like I'm not the person who's immediately responding to a complaint like the gentleman just brought up, right? In
So
fact, if it did go to me, it would probably take a few hours to get resolved.
Okay, so you'll give us the information.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat right now. Does that work?
I'm sorry?
Can I type it into the chat just so that it's there right now?
Sure, everyone can see the chat, right?
Panelists should be able to see the chat. I'm not sure that.
Okay, the panelists, you'll see it in the chat. And we'll get information to you later if you don't get it now. I'm sorry, I don't know your name with the Murray Hill Neighborhood Association, but did you you were shaking your head before in agreement. Did you want to say anything?
Thank you. First, I wanted to thank you. My name is Lily, and I'm at the Murray Hill Neighborhood Association. And thank you for inviting me. It's a very exciting group of individuals, and I'm honored to be in the room with most of you. So the Murray Hill Neighborhood Association is trying, we're not a bid. So it's very interesting to just hear your perspectives in terms of how you are addressing the issue of containerization, of controlling garbage in a community that is basically residential. So that's our problem, that we don't have a lot of businesses to support containerization. So I'm here to listen. I'm here to learn. We have issues of trying to kind of beautify the neighborhood to figure out how we can just get a sense of decorum, back to the streets. There's just a lot of garbage bins that are always full. For some reason, First Avenue in particular doesn't seem to have, I did a map of the community walking from 34th to 42nd between First and Fifth. And First, Madison, but it's scattered throughout the entire community where there's a lot of corners that just don't have bins. And we have every type of bin you can imagine in the community. We've got green ones, we've got the Stanley ones. They're all different types. And it's so unappealing, to look at. And so we want to figure out how can we, one, beautify the community so we can have some sense of getting just cleanliness to the neighborhood and some sort of consistency, but also to get them, serviced, because we found out many of them are not serviced. We don't really still understand, how the Doe Fund can pick up in certain areas of our community, but not in others. Some areas of the community are very challenged in terms of needing bins removed all the time. So it's a huge learning curve, and that's what we're trying to sort of figure out. We have one contact at DSNY, and it may not be enough for us. So I'm here to kind of tap into your resources to learn about how we can figure out how we can tackle the enormity of residential garbage that we have. I'm thrilled about the composting that's happened in our community because I think that has helped with some, but because we don't have businesses or this containerization issue in our community, we have different challenges than what some of your other communities are talking about.
I'm sorry, could I just jump in quickly? And by the way, hi, Lily.
Hi, Rob.
The one thing that was of great benefit to the bids was that City Council and DSNY worked together to allow us basically to reimburse us for our costs. As I think I mentioned to you, Lily,
Yes.
I just sent an email to myself to remind me I'm going to Albany for the weekend. When I get back, I need to get into the passport program, and frustrating. But I think, and this is beyond our DSNY reps that are here right now, but I think what might be beneficial, excuse me, is if working with council members Epstein, Maloney, Menon, if they were to authorize a new round of funding so that community groups would have the same access to funds that the bids. I don't know if the Doe Fund got in time, but ACE did, and other groups that were a little more organized. No offense, you know what I mean. Organized as a group. That helped us immensely. I could have afforded to do it, okay? But for me, it's about $130,000 project. I'm going to be reimbursed 116,000, and that's only because the other 15,000 or so came along after the fact. I think if different community groups could band together, and it's bigger than just the East Side and CB6, but that might be a way to see that it's a great. I'm a convert, as I said before. It's become a great program. I'm happy to not see when I see bags on the corners now, I know that that they've been dumped. They're not mine. And I can tell people that. And it's just amazing. But a lot of the community groups need to be part of that, and they need to have the funding reimbursed. Now I'll shut up.
Thank you.
Second,
I'll second that.
before we move on, Ben, with Council Member Epstein, I didn't ask you to come to speak tonight, but if you want to, since this seems to be moving in your direction, please do. If you're still with us, I see you.
I am here. I'm happy to take questions or bring them back to the council member. I don't have anything specific to mention on this, though I think it's good to hear community feedback in ways that our office and other offices can get involved, especially for the areas that are in District 2.
Very good, Justin.
Yeah, I was going to say that, back in January, I think it was, we spoke with Council Member Maloney, and DSNY also on finding ways to use, let's say, marketing, Link NYC, to promote to the community the idea of cleanliness and upkeep. So beyond just funding for bins, having the community, having people feel walk through and messaging to try to persuade and convince people to contribute to keeping their community clean. And I know that at the time we had talked about involving some community members in bids as well. So I'm not sure if there's a way to do that now that we're all here together, how to navigate that. We had spoken about that back in January. I think Sandy and I were on the call.
And Pam, I think you had your hand up.
Yes, I did. One of our issues in here on the corners in Sutton Place, and I see it around the city, especially up and down First Avenue, are the corner trash bins. Most of them are broken half the time. You can't clean them. And when, the doors are open, rats and mice can get in there. And then when they are taken away to Long Island City to be repaired, you're left with a wire basket on the corner, and very often no basket at all, no trash bin at all. And our biggest, what we would like to know from the DSNY, do you have a selection of trash bins that we can purchase privately? Just so that we have workable, clean trash bins that function, because these do not function at all. They're really pretty deplorable, actually. You can't, there's stickers and graffiti all over them. We pay someone 3 times a week to clean the streets, the sidewalks, to take graffiti down, and so forth and so on. And we cannot clean those trash bins, and they're just really not okay. So, Superintendent Phillips, do you have an idea, or Director, do you have an idea of any way that we can, or how we can purchase new trash bins? Not the ones that we have now.
Right.
Because whoever designed those needs to go back to school, because they are really bad.
So yeah, community groups cannot purchase their own corner baskets. That has to come from funding from the community board or a city council member, right?
Oh.
For the better bins. So working with those offices, yes. With my colleagues in public affairs, yes. But the Sutton Area Community Association couldn't purchase that bin. Just to be clear on that.
That's fine.
Right. When there's also a bin, sometimes we have to swap bins out. We have to swap bins out for 1,001 reasons, a parade, unservicing them. But complaints is another reason why we service bins. So similar, swap a bin out, excuse me. So if there is a busted old rusty bin, corner bin that's put there, we take that into consideration, certainly do for exchanging that. So the customer service line that I dropped, that's really helpful, because that is going right to the teams that manage that.
Yes, but that's not the issue. I just wanted to say that's not the issue. The issue is that they're non-functional bins. And so, can we go to CB6 and can we fund it through CB6? And what are the options if we do?
It
And
would be
that's
the
all.
better bin. Yeah, so that's we would want to be selecting the like approving the bin
That's
basically.
fine. But do we have a selection of what CB6
No,
can?
sorry, I'm being unclear. That
Okay.
the better bin, our bin, let's call it the better bin. That's the bin
Are
that
you
we
talking
have.
about the gray one with the black top?
It's metal on the top, and then it has the plastic insert inside with the lid can shift over.
And it's got holes on the side.
It's those tiny slits, yes.
That, well, we have holes in ours, and then in the doors that open and close so they can take the bag out from the container inside.
Hmm.
Right? Well, that door 90% of the time is broken. And I will go up and down First Avenue and I will close them and try to close them. And it's not possible because they're broken. And we actually, we were talking to Supervisor Bianco and I, we had many conversations about this. And, he at the time, when he was in service, he's no longer here in the neighborhood, but he had said that he understands the problem because I would see him and I'd say, look, what do we do with it? There's no trash bin on the corner. He said, well, we took it to Long Island City to be repaired. And so there's nothing there at all. And then and if it is taken to Long Island City, you're left with this little small, tiny wire green basket that's on the inside. And how can that possibly service blocks of people that are going back and forth? So therefore, trash is overflowing. And it doesn't bid well for the city. That's how unattractive they are. It doesn't bid well for the city. So maybe is there a policy is there something that we can do to go back to the drawing board to get new kinds of bins? Because these bins are new, by the way. These were just funded by Keith Powers. Keith Powers just put those on the corners like 2 or 3 years ago. And they look like they've been there for like 15 years. And they haven't. So that's something that we need to fix and we need to find a solution for because it's really unattractive and it's unsanitary. It's not sanitary. So there you are. That's my issue that's what I would like to find a solution for.
And I just want to say again that a number of these groups would be willing to
Yes.
pay for bins, and they would like to select their own with DSNY's approval.
Yes.
I know that we looked at the bins that the Fifth Avenue Association has, which they maintain themselves. I presume that Rob may also have his own bins.
Yeah.
And Turtle Bay Association has their own bins. The question that they had though was, is it best to not have an open receptacle than have one? Because I know this debate came up with the Parks Department too, that if you don't have a container, let's say at the entrance to a park, it's actually cleaner because when you have people throwing and missing in the receptacle and an open receptacle, it's bad. Is that true? This is some litter psychology I'd love to dive deep into, but if you can answer that, it would be helpful.
I can't speculate on if there's a bin there or not, what a New Yorker or a tourist will do, but we have to, take in consideration where sanitation can service baskets. Parks baskets are very different, right? Parks Department services parks. We don't put bins in the middle intersections. Typically they have to, in the middle of the block, they have to be at the corner, they have to be serviceable by the collection crew that's on the basket route. Yeah, that's all I'll say towards that point.
So I just want to say one more thing. The trash bins that are on Fifth Avenue, they're strong. There's never trash around them or whatever. They're super strong. You can't, there's no stickers on them because they won't stick. And you can get graffiti if there's graffiti on. There's never any graffiti on it. I guess they clean, the trash bins if there should be on Fifth Avenue. But those bins are amazing. They're strong. They should be citywide. That's the kind of bin that New York should have throughout the city. not these tinny things that, break when you look at them the wrong way.
And I think I sent you a link to DSNY that shows the manufacturer of those particular bins.
Oh, you did? Okay, and that's
Not to, well, actually to you too, Pam, but I think
okay.
I
Thank
think
you.
if the superintendent and director don't have that, I can send it again. Because
Thank you.
email is so cheap. But you're seeing some patterns here, right, of the concerns in the neighborhood. And again, I don't think anyone expects that you will resolve the question tonight, but you also understand that these are questions that everyone wants.
Yeah, no, certainly. No, I hope it's not coming through that I'm like
No.
not hearing these. These all my notes are here on in front of me, all my post-its. That's where you see me jotting this down. It's the city of New York does offer a level of service to residents that I think can sometimes feel like not enough. It's or not enough. I'm not trying to, use words that dismiss or demean anybody's issues. These are real, if you're going outside and you're seeing trash there, that's the reality, right? Sanitation's offering 3 days a week of trash collection service, 1 day a week of recycling collection service. We're collecting baskets at least once a day, sometimes up to 3 times a week. We're doing street cleaning on specific streets once a week during this week, and that can seem like not enough, right? So when there have been desires to have additional services, that's when, again, it's looking to have discretional funding from community board or from your council member, have supplemental litter basket service or supplemental cleaning service, motorized litter patrol. And that actually we can work directly with our cleaning office and with our community affairs team to point out the hot spots. That way, those crews can focus on those areas, right? Because there is just the regular traditional collection and cleaning routes, but if there are hot spots, for instance, where there's always illegal dumping going on, then that's one way that we can try to be more proactive. I'm not trying to, say that could solve everything right there in this call, but that's how we get it started, is by having that conversation.
So one more thing I'd like to add, one more thing. You have an auxiliary department, ACE, right? Right?
Well, it's
why
not. It's that would be funded through council member or community board. So
Okay,
yeah.
okay. So maybe that is there's a solution there for I think that, I think it's fair that you relook at the policy for the big belly containers. I think that's fair. And whether whatever comes from it, but I think it's a fair question and a fair request. At the same time, Lily, when you're talking about the Doe Fund has a menu of, Rob, correct me, they have a menu of what you can select and choose and pay for by the month for them to do whatever service you want them to do. They have like 20 items. They're very expensive. And so the community itself has to, be able to afford that menu and that's monthly service. But we have looked at it and it's very, very expensive. And so we look to ACE to help us clean, to keep First Avenue, together and cleaner. I mean, we have one gentleman who really is very good at what he does, and he's on the corners, and we speak often. But at the same time, the Doe Fund and this whole the issue with Big Belly and so forth, I just think that would be something that you could just take a look at.
Okay, before we go to you, Mario, I believe the chair of our board wants to speak, and of course, she knows how important it is to speak loudly and into the owl.
One question I had, you keep referring to the community boards being able to fund purchases of services and garbage cans. Where does the community board get that money from? And maybe you could direct us to another community board that has done that, because we actually don't know of funding that is available for us to go ahead and do that for our community.
Yeah, no, I can't point you to another community board on the call this second. But they're not a discretionary funding process that community boards have access to, right? Like that's what I'm referring to. When we've met with them, that's what.
Yes, we asked the city to fund various issues. We also ask our elected officials.
Yeah.
So you're saying if we collect together everyone in our community, we might have a better chance of getting that support.
Yeah, well, I think that would probably be in like identifying hotspots and then focusing services in those hotspots from the community board, right? If it's additional funding for an additional collection crew, that would be coming from discretionary funding, right? From a city council member.
So I think, especially for all the people on the call, this is important that you need to let us know the hotspots so we can advocate for you. I'm not sure we've heard that continuously, so we do try and help the community, so please do let us know.
Ben, with council member Epstein.
Yeah, just to follow up on that as well. So assuming that it goes through discretionary funding, there's only also so much of that, and it seems that there are, I guess, in certain instances, the willingness for community groups or neighborhood associations to also partly either fund or put in. And I'm wondering, like, is there ability for a counselor for the community boards to take that role and either sign off or assist, or does it have to be like fully funded through city discretionary funds? Because I think in that regard, there's a lot of things that the council member needs to fund through discretionary funds. That it's like there is the will and want for even like the trash cans to be put in place. And I'm just wondering, are there ways that I know it may have to go through like council authorization, but does it have to be fully funded through our discretionary funds?
Yeah, it needs to come through council's discretionary funds.
Okay, first, Dr. Glenn, is it Cosman? And you're muted.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. It's Glenn. Perfect. The one thing I agree completely with Dominic's assessment of this whole call this evening. First of all, it seems as if the community, the more affluent communities, might be able to do things on their own. But this is a citywide problem, and it shouldn't be based on income, how much money a community has. This is a sanitation, a DSNY issue. And we really need, at least listening to this, to revamp the entire system. The city is completely, it's disgusting. It really is. It's terrible. Now, talking about bins in front of parks, if you go to Europe, there are no bins anyplace. There's no garbage in Europe. I mean, it's so much cleaner than we are here. We are supposedly the greatest country in the world. It doesn't look like it in New York City. And that's the issue. And to have Dominic sweeping the areas, Pam having our community, our group, paying people to clean up, there's something amiss here when the sanitation department goes by, doesn't look to see there's garbage present. And I understand there's different degrees of garbage, whether it's there, whether they can do it or not, but still, it's garbage. Let's get the private sanitation and the DSNY together and create a program. We have to revamp this. That's just from a community point of view. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, it sounds like, and I want to talk to Brian Lafferty as well, that we maybe could do it together. I think there needs to be a point person and Sandy at the community board or this committee, so that those that want that funding and see if we can get it from the community board. I'm happy to play that role. I obviously have very passionate interest in this subject, but just wanted to throw that out there. Happy to work with all the community associations and bids, park associations, you name it. Let's get some funds. I'm happy to be that point person.
Justin?
Yeah, I was gonna say also, Glenn, I agree. I think it's also a cultural issue. When I was in Tokyo, when I went to Japan, you notice that everybody just taught from the time they're really young. They don't even have trash cans there that people use. So it's not like our kind of institutions, I think they're doing a pretty good job, but it's also a culture, it's incumbent on us as community members and how we go about it too. So
and Rob, if everyone here got what they want, we'd put you out of business.
I'm sorry, just one last word. First, I want to thank you, Director and Superintendent, for joining us tonight. I know that you are really in a pickle because between the fact that the city has an increased residential and commercial density, the fact that we have a lot of new visitors, such as migrants, and many of them are turning into people that they are living on the streets, and they really don't care about cleanliness and hygiene and all of that. I know that you were caught in in a bind and you weren't prepared for all of this. I think that what Glenn just said and what other people have said here tonight is extremely important. And the fact that we really need to understand how we can fix what is not working right now, because there are a lot of those private services that they are supposed to be of aid of businesses that they are creating a lot of garbage, that they don't do their job. And, I don't know how many times you're trying to enforce, for example, construction places that they are not doing their job. Everywhere you are going, when there is a construction that is going on, the place is dirty. It doesn't matter where you are. It is amazing. And it doesn't matter how many times a day you're going to go out. Somehow, everything has to start from the ground and coming up. If those people are not following the rules, if those people are not slapped on the wrist properly, we know we're going to end up really clearing the problem that we're facing.
Yep.
And in any case, I thank you for all the work that you are doing. And I really got to move on because I have other businesses to attend tonight.
Thank you for being with us. I'm sorry, Rob, it looks like you want to speak.
I was just going to say, I'm going to need to jump off too. I just want to, in defense of DSNY, they are doing what they can. These are bigger than Andrew. These are big global issues. I mean, we've talked about it's us. It's not DSNY with except for trash bags exploding out of the back of trucks. It's not DSNY throwing trash on the streets. It's New Yorkers. And so this is a big thing. And to the extent, I think DSNY is probably struggling, by the way, under the same financial strains a lot of agencies are. And so I really think it's incumbent on everyone on this call, including me, to talk to our council members, to talk to our mayor, to talk to the people that can help make a difference and prioritize sanitation. And by the way, parks too, but that's another thing. But to prioritize these and not make them second-class departments to push this, because otherwise we're just sitting here bitching about the same old stuff that is, going to happen again next week. And so I want to thank Andrew. And is the director still?
Yeah.
Because I'm missing people.
Superintendent Phillips.
Superintendent, sorry, yes. Anyway, I want to thank them for being here, and I want to thank CV6 for allowing me to be a part of it. And I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, but thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just want to say Superintendent Phillips has been very responsive, and I'm really appreciate him.
Thank you.
And I certainly don't want him to think that he's being attacked. He's done. He's really been listening to people and talking. So we appreciate his efforts. I would like, I mean, we've gotten a sense of some of these issues, and I know there's others on the list. But Director Hoyles, could you talk to us about the coming of containerization now?
Sure.
So go ahead. Why don't I just let you explain what it's going to look like in our neighborhood?
Yeah, thanks for letting me talk about that for a little bit. While there's not a timeline that I can say when Community Board 6 would be part of the Empire Bin rollout, it is citywide by 2031 is our marching orders, right? That's what we're aiming for right now. And so Empire bins or stationary on-street containers are bins that are installed on the side, on the parking lane. I'm doing air quotes, you know, because maybe it's not necessarily a parking lane. Maybe it's something that we could reimagine as some other space. But these bins essentially are only accessible via the building staff or Department of Sanitation, and they're serviced on the same schedule as the existing trash schedule. So 2 times a week or 3 times a week, depending on where we're at in the city. There's service with a side loading truck. These containers, they're about they're about 2 cubic yards in volume, right? So they two of them take up about half of a car. One of them will take about half of a car space, right? And we piloted this in Manhattan Community Board 9 in West Harlem, and after that pilot, we're extending that pilot for another year in that location, and we're piloting the next location in Brooklyn Community Board 2 this summer with installation in the fall. And then the next couple of districts, there's going to be one city in every community board throughout the city. So these bins are required for buildings with over 31 units, with 31 or more units. And then buildings with 10 to 30 units, they get to choose between, the NYC bin, the official wheelie bin. They can use those individual wheelie bins or sign up for or opt in for a Empire bin. And that would be their choice. There's not a fee right now for the Empire bin, but through one of the local laws that for this program, Department of Sanitation can charge up to $55 per residential unit for maintenance and repair and servicing of these bins. So it's a pilot that we're doing right now. It is expanding, and we have a timeline for the entire city, but we only have right now the next couple of districts. Actually, the next one in Manhattan would be Manhattan Community Board 2, so a little bit south of you all.
Can I ask one question, Director Hoyle? I just wanted to confirm that privately on the cul-de-sacs, they can purchase city bins and that your team of men will pick up the garbage.
Yeah, that they would service them, yes.
Yes, that's
right.
Wonderful.
Okay.
That's 50% good. That's great news. Okay.
Talking about city bins, right? Pam?
Yes, I'm talking about city bins. Yes, so city
Yeah, and
bins
it sounds
can
like
be,
Superintendent Phillips was speaking where he's servicing this somewhere else in
yeah,
Community Board 6 as well.
yeah, I think Rob has it in his area as well. He has the city bins. Yes. But I just wanted to clarify that because there are residents that want to purchase those city bins at the end of their cul-de-sac, and just to make sure that you would service it. And I just wanted to confirm that.
Yeah, so I want to make sure that that's okay. There's the Clean Curbs program where you're just basically communicating that to Department of Sanitation that you're purchasing these, and that's
Clean
part.
Curbs.
Yeah,
So we have to contact Clean Curbs.
yeah, and I can provide the link maybe at the end of this meeting, or I'm not sure
Okay.
what the best way would
Okay.
be for so everybody's aware of that information. But that would be the way. How about Stuart, would it be best if I follow up with you directly, the link?
Yeah, whatever you want to disseminate, if you send to us, we will send it to everyone here. And Glenn, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I do have a question for Director Hoyles. What is the difference between the Empire bins and those bins that you see, like, for example, outside the Friars Club? There's also some of those bins on East 56th Street off of 3rd Avenue between 3rd and Lex. Those really beautiful bins
Like a
that,
sleek metal looking bin.
yeah,
Yeah.
that has,
Yeah, that would
that's
be like a city bin.
Those are, okay.
So yeah, the Empire bins, they're made actually by, it's the program itself, it requires a specialized truck that's not manufactured in the US. Part of it's manufactured in Europe. Actually, individuals were talking on this call earlier about, Europe is much cleaner. They've been doing containerization for a lot longer than us. So we're using, a hybridized truck that can service these types of European style bins. And that's why the rollout is kind of takes some time because the trucks don't actually exist, right? They're being manufactured while the rollout's happening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lee, please, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to clarify a question from Pam, the SAC Vice President. Director Hoyles, when you said we should contact Clean Curb regarding the privately funded placement of city bins at the end of our cul-de-sacs in Sutton Place, is that basically to let them know that the bins are there for their servicing? It's not to ask permission. Is that correct?
No, there is an approval, but we are approving these. The approval is part of it because it's going onto the cityscape, right? It's approval by Department of Transportation as well. So anything that's on the cityscape, Department of Transportation has to put their eyes on, and Sanitation has to approve because it's, notifying us that there is this serviceable entity that is going to be there.
Terrific. So it's a collaborative phone call with Clean Curb just to make sure that they're aware that the bins are there in the future.
Yeah, what is important to me as I don't want to rattle off like it's too easy. Like it can't be in a bus stop, or it can't be over a fire main, or it can't be over, there are parts of the cityscape that you could not put them there. If there's not the frontage, then that could be a reason for it to be rejected. But so I do want to name that there is a approval because that they can't go in certain locations, but it is also just more of a collaborative discussion about what's going
Just
there.
one thing, Director Hoyle, so we need to contact Cleaning Curbs prior to purchasing the city bin and letting them know what location that city bin will be at, and that they will get back to us with the approval. And how long does that take?
Can't speak to how long it will take. This is all internal with sanitation. It's all in our containerizations unit.
So if we ask for this approval, calling Cleaning Curbs, do we get an immediate approval, or is it something that you would, sorry?
Yeah, I'm just writing this down. Let me find that out for you.
Okay, great. Perfect.
So thank you. I think I'd like to leave it here for now. I've seen Director Hoyles take about 3,000 pages of notes. And we're hoping that this will result not just in answers that start with no, but in some degree of working in concert with our neighborhood groups. So I think with that, if Superintendent Phillips is still with us, or he's on a highway someplace.
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Excellent. So just in case it didn't come across, we really do appreciate both your and Director Hoyle's participation. Just the very fact that you're responsive, that you're here listening and talking to the communities, really important. I think we'll wait for you to say when you're ready for us to speak again. But we do want to speak again. Very good.
I appreciate you all too. Thanks so much. You should hear our snow meetings if you think this was. I'm just kidding. We're in the waste business, but also we're trying to make New York cleaner, safer place. So
yeah,
thanks
but
for
it's summer. We'll be here in 6 months. So thank you all very much. We're going to move on. We're going to move on.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent Phillips. Thank you for all you do, and thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yes, thank you as well. Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to our next agenda item. It's Kevin's item on a potential resolution. What we have all seen, I think, from our email is that the governor seems to have said that she will respond to all of those issues. But Kevin feels that, and I will let you speak.
Oh, so it's me. Go. If you could put up the reso, Brian, is that possible? So we drafted this resolution. It's been on the agenda for a couple of days. And I swear this was not collusion with the governor, but the governor yesterday came out and basically supported everything that was in the resolution. And that's 3 acts that I would love for the committee to support. That's starting with I think we can read that here. I'm trying to pull it up myself. The New York for All Act. And if you have any questions about that, here we go. This is, and then the second is the MELT Act. And the third, these are all been proposed. They have not worked out of committee in Albany, but it looks like the governor is on board. Well, she is on board less than 24 hours ago. So hold on.
So
If you want to read that off.
Yeah, let me just summarize what the acts are first. The New York for All Act aims to ensure, I'm sorry, did you? Oh, you looked like you wanted to.
No.
Okay, so the New York for All Act aims to assure that everyone, that includes immigrants, whether they're, regardless of their status, can get medical care, police protection, and schooling for their children without fear that doing so is going to subject them to the scrutiny of immigration authorities. I think the bill has an obvious political thrust, and it incorporates basic concerns for humanity. And it demonstrates an interest not just for those present without legal authorization, but those who are legally present as well. But it also inherently protects everyone, since if crime victims can't trust police, then criminals roam freely. If people can't be treated for disease, the consequences might spread. And if children go uneducated, we produce an underclass that ultimately endangers us all. So the way the New York for All Act aims to operate is by prohibiting the state from providing information on immigration status to federal authorities. The act does nothing, and indeed it could do nothing, to limit the legitimate federal authority. And it requires the state officials to comply with legitimate judicial warrants and orders. It just prevents federal authorities from effectively commandeering state resources for federal purposes. I counted 31 co-sponsors in the Senate, including Kristen Gonzalez and Liz Kruger. 75 co-sponsors in the Assembly, including Keith Powers and Alex Boris. That's the premier of the three acts.
And I could jump into the MELT Act if you want. Sorry, I had my screen back up. Thank you, Stu. The MELT Act would basically ban the use of face covering in plain clothes by immigration actions conducted in New York State. I think we've seen that the agents of federal government are operating as mass militia, not good. Immigration enforcement should not be turned into a paramilitary secret police force. Also, I think that's important. This is basically a fight against tyranny. Tony Simone from the Assembly introduced it, and also Patricia Fahey from the Senate is also on board, among many others.
2 states already have that, where you cannot wear a mask.
New Jersey is one.
And California.
Right.
And in that case, there are 24 co-sponsors in the Senate. Again, that includes Liz Kruger, and 59 co-sponsors in the Assembly, including Keith Powers.
Right.
And then the last act is the Radar Act. Reporting of arrests, detentions, actions, and removals by immigration enforcement. I am impressed by the ability to create acronyms. It's primarily just a public dashboard. It's just reporting immigration enforcement activities within the state. It includes statistical information on contacts between state and federal officials. And it has demographic information on the people who might be arrested. But it's simply about reporting. It's not any further action than that. Again, Liz Kruger is signed on to it with 11 other co-sponsors. And so those are the three acts that are in this resolution. The governor has said that as part of the budget negotiations, she has, and by the way, I'm sorry, we passed a resolution 2 months ago. For, what was it called? Come on.
It was,
Yeah.
it was the,
Yes.
the ability to,
You're suing the
ability to sue a federal.
individuals.
Right. So that the governor also said that she's supporting that.
Well, so that's extending it to ICE as well, right? Is the idea.
Well,
That's
it
what I
reaches,
meant.
it reaches ICE,
Yeah.
but it's not limited to.
It's certainly not. It's federal immigration officials.
Even.
Yeah, but I mean, that was just an email I note, yeah.
So the governor has said she supports all of this already. She said that she's negotiated with the legislature, and they are in agreement. So, Kevin.
So, I keep things simple. We want to put all three together, and obviously, this resolution is to show support for, again, the New York for All Act, the Radar Act, and the MELT Act. So we've talked about it enough. I think we can.
And we're really just supporting we're supporting her. This is already known in a way, but you need to be on record of, because should anything fall through the cracks, where do we stand on it,
You would be responsible.
With all due respect to the governor, this committee was actually talking about it before she came out. I know you want to give credit to the governor, maybe, but.
No, I'm
just saying.
happily surprised.
Justin, what do you feel?
My issue is that, so I support the two bills, MELT and Radar. The NY for All one, I have an issue with it because the spirit of the bills, I understand it, but to me, it's an enforcement mechanism that affects communities that I feel like I don't have standing in. So you're talking about community upstate, like this is a statewide bill. So, I mean, if it were me, I'm gonna vote no, because that for NY for All, I think it should be, if that was changed to be for our community, I would vote yes. But I just don't feel like I have standing to do that for a statewide bill. The other two, I'm okay with, but that one, it's an enforcement mechanism that governs how people engage with their local community, and I just don't, that's not how I see governance, so.
And before you respond, Sandra.
That question, because you raised such an important point. So when there's an increase in population in the community, because immigrants come to the community, what happens, and we all pay our education or school bills? Does the state increase the funding to those communities? What happens? Because I've certainly seen it in
Well, I'm not sure.
if there's a large increase, say there's an increase.
An
You're
increase.
raising the issue of you can't speak for upstate, which I think you're raising an issue. So my question is, what happens when there's an increase in that population? Immigrants come into the community, they're not necessarily paying into the education taxes. Does the state supplement it, or is it now just a problem of that local community?
I'm not sure.
Because that seems like a really important issue. So if you were gonna say it's all right to everybody's on the same playing field, it would have to be that the state has to equalize the funding, as it seems to me that's a fair part of this. So I'm just curious if you would know.
I'm not sure, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm talking more about how people in communities interact with their local police officials. I mean, I just don't like it. I see it as the inverse, is like being in Texas and having somebody from a community board like dictate how I'm gonna engage, like Austin versus Dallas. Like I
don't know. Okay, we're talking about two different.
we're talking about two different, like I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was so that's all right, fine.
Yeah. I mean, that's what, like, I would have, I made the comment in the email chain, like, I would have preferred to separate it, because I will vote for the other two, but NY for All, I don't feel comfortable with that. I mean, the spirit of the bill, but it's just not really how I see governance.
Okay, well, we could certainly consider voting for, this is obviously a a draft, and we can consider, carving one out. I'd like to think that we have enough support.
I mean, you guys are, like, I would encourage if it's like, you'll have enough support, but that's,
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying, if there's always another option, if we do take a vote on this to the chair, whether we're going to.
Well, first of all, we don't even need a motion. I mean, if you want to redraft this as two separate resos, I'm sorry, or strike part of the reso, we can do that.
Well, let's see if the reso now passes. Committee.
Mm-hmm.
And then
And that is, can somebody answer the question I raised about?
Not sure.
It would have to be any kind of
Absolutely.
state funding,
What?
a town or city funding. in all these communities, but I think the state would probably have to support most of that.
This is a part of the budget talks, exactly.
Yeah,
I wanna pull
exactly.
up the
So
exact-
it's really
So, yeah, I
about
mean,
that.
Yeah, does somebody know, have an exact answer? Does somebody know, in fact, is that what happens? So if there's.
Yes, but I want to give
increase-
you a better understanding of, how it's worded. Make sure we're all on the same page. I'm pulling it up.
Because she's actually connecting all of this to the budget. And that is the deal
Exactly.
that was made. So that's got to be the New York State budget.
Hold on.
Well, that's also, sort of political mechanism.
Right.
It's not always, as we've seen in Congress, it's not always because it's actually a budgetary issue.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm pulling this up. Is anybody else, who else is on board from the committee? It'd be great to get anybody else's input. That's on.
I would support all three.
I'll support all three.
I would support all three.
Because to me, it's all part of what she said and it's all part of the package.
Right. Well, I was gonna say it's few, I mean, I think it's important, however you guys feel, to pass it today, because by next month, this could already, like, I think if you wanna express that support, it's before it's kind of going to budget, it's good to do that now.
Let me just, I'd kind of like to understand your objection a little bit more. Whenever we vote on a state bill, it affects everyone upstate as well as.
I don't like really voting on state bills, so that's kind of
But Melt and.
And Radar are both state bills, so I thought about that a lot. And I felt that those are more, I'm sort of regulatory, those are more, they don't ask the community to really change how they interact with their local law enforcement. They essentially are impacting how federal enforcement should be held accountable. I see it as a little bit of a different concept. So ideally, no, I wouldn't want to vote on those either, but I feel like I'll be flexible with that and pass. Yeah, there is, I'm just calling hypocrisy with it, but yeah, I agree with that. But I wanted to be flexible with those because I do support those in spirit.
Sandra, I have a thank you. I have a question, an answer. I have a question.
Okay.
It's, the cost would generally be paid for by New York State, but also some local governments would also pitch in. Again, they're working this out in the budget, so the budget may be predominantly, if not all, New York State. The reason they need money, they're saying, is training government employees on the new rules. How much is that gonna cost? Potential legal expenses, administrative compliance costs, and broader public service costs tied to immigration policy. So again, I don't think it's exorbitant considering the amount that's in the state budget, but that helps you get a better idea.
A little, it doesn't really address, so I did it very concretely in terms of the schooling situation, is an increase in kids in the school. Is it the obligation of the local community to pick up the cost of that? Or does that become something that the state compensates for? That's a big issue on a local level.
Right.
That'd be a part, listen, I have a house in the Hudson Valley, upstate, so I feel very strong being able to speak for me up there. But that would be a school tax. So every individual would pay the school tax, absolutely. My school taxes are off it's a country place. It's off the charts because it's one of the top 100 high schools in the country. So yes, it would be for the school, it would definitely be community.
But just to be clear is.
You understand the problem of that for these local rural communities. That's a real issue, right? So if you're in a rural agrarian community and you gotta pay extra school tax, that's a problem. That's a serious problem, right? So.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, I talked to the assessors and the local government there, because I'm like, I don't have kids. I don't have any kids in that high school. And, after talking to him, it's about, but I want good kids to come up into my area. So yes, I do want to support other people's children. So it's a kind of, I think it's civics in a way.
Yeah, but I think you're missing the point I'm raising about.
No, but I don't think anyone.
Economic situation.
Probably New York would probably get the most people, but I think in a lot of rural areas, you're not gonna see any huge numbers that I think will affect anything.
Right, and they would
Okay,
have,
that's, we would need the data on it, but that's okay, I mean, you need the data on it? But
yeah, I mean, children living in New York, certainly have the right to, attend public schools. The US Supreme
Of course.
Court, I think it's Plyer versus Doe. I mean, that's.
sure, they
that's
have the right, the question is who's paying the bill,
Right, it
and
would,
that's all, that's. what,
it
you
would
know, cost of money.
potentially,
Oh.
it would potentially be the state, but it could also be
It
local.
could be
Yeah, it could
misread
be
in that it's
local.
also the local, it's somewhat partly the state, but it's also the local community through the taxes, through the school tax, which means that's a, what we call a regressive situation, right? Because you're gonna stick it on poor people as well as rich people. So that's unique, and that's how I'm understanding it. And that's something to seriously think about. That's all.
I'm sorry, school tax is regressive? I mean, they're
Well,
based
if
on
you're,
property.
the point is, if everybody, there are a lot of people got, they're second homeowners, they've got the money, right? But then there are a lot of local farmers who are gonna be also paying the burden of the community, and that becomes very problematic for them.
I would push back a little bit. I don't think it's a burden. I think, again, New York for all in its name is
That's why.
inherent that New York is for everybody. I don't think anybody's a burden.
That's
So
an
if that was-
economic burden.
Okay,
That's happening in other ways anyway. I'm in a tiny rural community with farms and they just reassessed me at the most crazy house price, because house prices are through the roof.
Sure.
I mean, I am paying $16,000 in a little tiny community town for school taxes. And I'm not happy about that. And I am going to talk to them about the new assessment, but this is happening everywhere all the time. And New York State is a very taxed state in terms of especially housing. It's very taxed.
and again, it's part of the budget negotiation, so clearly this will be
Yeah, we'll
considered.
see what
And you do
happens.
have so many people on board already, including, our state assemblyman Keith Powers, so it's clearly has the support to happen anyway. We just happen to be here now, the day after the governor, showed his support. I'm still very much in favor of it, but open to any tweaks.
I wouldn't, never vote against education
Yeah.
funding.
And
health-
I think I think education is so critical for everything we do, whether you're talking about public safety or mental health. Economics, because ultimately these are people who have money issues. If you're talking about homelessness, there's nothing, or there's very little in our life that isn't reliant on the education of our people. And I think that the more, whether it's people who have come here as immigrants, whether their parents came here illegally or not, these are people that end up in our community. And the better we take care of them, the better we all are as a society. It's abstract, it's looking it's a very long view, it's not, what you pay tomorrow. But I think we're a community board, and unlike people who are elected, who have to look at the next election, we're gonna live in this community for a long time. And I just think that when it comes to education, I want the money to be spent well, but I'm not gonna object to it going, to people whose status we don't know.
Sandra, when I say it's a burden, I don't think it's a burden when we're helping everybody. Believe me, there's a lot of taxes that I believe should not be there that would bring our tax rate taxes even lower, believe me. But this is not one to me that should be questioned because of education, because of healthcare.
Right, I'm just really raising the issue who falls on, who, you're making the money, you don't care, or you care, or whatever. You ain't making the money, it has a big impact, that's all. Just,
Okay.
and well, the only question I ask is who's paying for it? In the end, who would pay for that? Is it the state? That's terrific, right?
Right.
But if it's the individual communities,
So our
The state.
local taxes, real estate taxes based on a head count?
what?
Because I mean, the state budget is based basically on heads. I mean, that, it's not quite that straightforward.
I'm not.
When the state pays, for education, or when, for that matter, the city does, it's based on the head count. There's a certain dollar amount per person, and I know it's not quite that straightforward,
Yeah.
but. Are real estate taxes based on the same premise? Is it based on a head count?
On income, it's based on the value of the house. It's based on the appraised value of the house.
Right, but I mean, there's an overall budget for the school that you're paying out of your education.
Right, so Scarsdale has a lot of money for its schools based on the value of the homes, right? That's how it works. So it comes from assessed values. And so people are paying for it locally.
Right, but Scarsdale, exactly, but Scarsdale is paying more per person than we are in most communities, and I don't think it's based on the head count, it's just.
Right, no, but the point being that the education is supported by the taxes one pays for education, right? However, that happens within the community. That's why you get, Scarsdale's got a whole lot of money to pay for education. Whereas, I don't know, Yonkers says, so I'm making that part up. But the community that doesn't have, it's just, it depends on the taxes one pays. So you get to the poor communities, they're paying for the quality of their education by their local school tax, right? Same deal. And I don't know how much the state compensates them. It's a real problem. And it's the inequities of our system are sitting there in our educational system in your face. And that's real important.
A couple of things. Immigrant families, I know you're not saying otherwise.
I'm just giving.
Immigrant families obviously pay taxes through, sales tax, payroll tax. Rent, property. No, I know. I just said, right. But I'm just saying that I want that out there though, that they're paying. Look, I think what you said about educating children, it's been proven it reduces crime and poverty rates. So that's worth fighting for right there. Education is, I think, the major bullet for our future. We gotta be proud of what's gonna happen, 2 generations.
I always think about the next one that's coming. You have
Yeah,
to.
I mean, it's just who we are, as a culture. I mean, we're gonna say some people, don't belong here. That's a bigger ideological discussion, but I feel very passionate that this is the right thing to do these days. So I would move that we have a vote.
Yeah, are we gonna do it as 2 and 1, or are you doing this all three?
Well, we right now, we have a resolution on the table of all 3. That's the motion.
Just one thing, the state is very involved in house taxes and school taxes. Because my new assessment is based on, they have a formula about land. And they are upping my land assessment, because New York State has a formula, and now this town or county has to obey what New York State is saying. This is very all intertwined. Even local communities are obeying the state, what the state wants. It's really fascinating and horrible at the same time, but it works generally. We complain. I do.
Yeah, and again, one more point, immigrants strengthen the workforce, which strengthens the economy, so it is going to, lift those.
That's
folks.
great. It's not the discussion I brought up.
No,
Of course, yes, you do.
It's certainly worth taking in consideration.
I'm really talking about.
I do wish we
Economic
had more members
differences
here.
and class issues. That's what I'm really addressing here. And who's gonna get screwed in this and who not, and wealthy people don't get screwed in it, but poor people, and you're polarizing. That's all I'm saying.
Well, poor people may also benefit from this. I mean,
Maybe, but when you're homeowners, they ain't happy with it, right? The issue is when you're paying the tax, and what you realize is the education that was available is now being diminished, or you don't have the faculty anymore, et cetera, et cetera. You see it, that's all. That's just to understand that in what you're voting. The rest I agree with, but I do understand class issues. And you really have to, and then you vote on it, but at least understand what else is implied in it, that's all.
Thank you.
Okay, so, we can entertain a motion to take a vote on this. We can entertain a motion to split this into two separate resolutions.
How do you want to do
It sounds like, it's,
Mr. Chair,
I'm gonna just listen to your motion.
I'd still like to vote for all three and then see what happens.
Brian,
Okay. Well, a motion's been made, go ahead, the second.
oh, you want me to go through the script? There was a motion made, to vote on, the resolution supporting the New York For All Act, the Radar Act, and the MELT Act. We will now take a vote. Brian will call the roll. Oh, please.
And the second?
We don't need a second, we're a committee.
No, kidding.
We don't need a
I'm
second,
kidding.
we're a committee. I've read Robert's
Oh
rules.
my God, we know you have. Oh, I know you have. I was in the executive.
That's why I was giving you like that. I know you're right.
Read Robert's rules. But go ahead.
How many
second
times?
it.
I'll second it. I'll third it. I'll fourth it. I'll fifth it.
You're only allowed to second.
Mm. I want a little independence on that.
Committee members, when I call your name, please respond. Favor, opposed, abstain, or not entitled. Stu Desser.
In favor.
Thank you. Justin Goldberg.
Opposed.
Thank you. Gloria Hayes.
In favor.
Arun is not with us. Sandra left.
Abstain.
Thank you. Kevin O'Keefe.
In favor.
Thank you. And Ann Seligman is not with us. So that's, 3 votes in favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstention. The motion carries.
Right down to the wire.
Okay.
Didn't
We
know what was
appreciate,
gonna
we
happen.
appreciate
Yeah,
when Justin,
people are
totally
also-
see.
These might be issues, the same concerns that we both have are probably gonna come up too in full board, so, if you wanted to go through, those are things you wanna think through.
I will address both because Stu and Paris will not be at our full board.
I'll be remote,
He'll be with us.
as people say I am anyway. But you'll pitch it. I also would like, not tonight, but would like to hear both of you more, because these are interesting questions.
Yeah.
That I think are worthy of discussion.
People are bringing up state issues, you gotta understand the implications in the state and how it further polarizes a state. When you don't wanna polarize, you really have to understand the implications out of the city, right? Move out of the city are very different.
But Kevin, thanks for clearly put a lot of time into it, so thanks for that.
Thank you, and I'll put a lot more time into, making sure that everything is addressed. In case people have questions, I will be happy to address your comments and others. Thank you.
Yeah. You'll enjoy standing up there. I believe we're moving to new and old business now. I distributed a note that I received about pets, I believe dogs, just dogs, off leash were prohibited. You've all seen the note. It's something we could consider. It's also something, unfortunately, Rupal is not with us tonight. Oh, but we do have Gloria. It does look like it might be a health issue as opposed to a public safety issue.
What would be, I would think a dog off leash could potentially bite someone. That to me is safety.
What's this? Well,
Can I
there's a
say
number.
something or when you're done, as a dog owner, I had some. thoughts
Yeah,
about
sure. It also, what's raised is also, food establishments cleaning up after them. And let's see, I guess that's it. So it's food establishments, people not cleaning up after the dogs. Versus being, on public transit or in, so.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is, I got a dog back in December, and when you go to dog parks, I would say 75% of people are very good, they're good etiquette. But there are people that, as a dog, there's some dog owners that just, their dogs, they don't really, there's poor etiquette. They're watching how they're interacting with non-dog owners. I candidly, I take my dog on transit too. So like maybe I'm not the best, person for it to say on those things, but I do think it's important that there is some, I can understand the concern. So
Okay, and it's, I believe, I mean, you can bring your pet on transit,
Yeah.
they're just supposed to be in a cage.
Yeah.
I should say, I take the Long Island Railroad and I'm really happy when people have bring their dogs on a leash,
Yeah.
and the occasional cat. And I've never had a problem with that, but, grocery stores are an interesting question.
Oh, that is.
And I
And
think.
they still do it, and even the grocery store says they're not allowed, but people
But
do
they
not
do
care.
it. And I think
Yeah.
Ryan wanted to say something, but I'm not sure.
Oh, well, no, it's for the community. I
I
don't
was
want to
trying to
influence the
read and I
committee,
guess I couldn't.
but I appreciate it.
So is this something that you believe belongs in public safety and you want to take up? Is it something that you think should go to health?
Let me talk to Rupel about it first before you decide.
Excellent.
It's definitely an issue, and
I mean, I think like, unpicked up stuff. I think dogs in grocery stores, that's the
Yeah, I
health
would,
issue.
yeah, I would agree with that. I don't like, as a dog, I feel like there's etiquette, there's some like kind of edge cases. But then it's just that there are 10%, 50% that are bad dog, like they don't have etiquette, so it kind of ruins it for everybody else, but.
with cats.
That's what.
Well, they're easy, they don't.
But that's
Cats are actually not permitted in.
They are because of legislation.
Yeah, Keith is bringing that
Well,
up.
also on the state level, Eric Botcher already.
Yeah.
One of the introducers.
Wait, I'm sorry, are cats now allowed to chase mice or?
There is now, on the state side, there
Uh-huh.
is legislation afoot to allow cats in bodegas.
In-
And
in-
Keith Powers has
Yeah.
already championed it on the city side when he was
That's what
city
they're
council.
supposed to do. They're like born for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they're.
Like against
No, I just-
nature.
And
Like
that's
Babylon,
just-
Babylon, they're just like literally evolved to do that.
Going back to dogs,
Am I right about that? I think so, yeah.
It's raining cats and dogs in this discussion, but going back to Justin, I agree with you 100%. Look, I spent a lot of time in a park where, dogs are not allowed. The entitlement on some dog owners, even when parks employees go up and tell them, it's unbelievable that they get in their face and say, you don't care. And more than once I've heard this, you don't care about dogs. Actually, we're just going by the rules.
Yeah.
There was also, a while back in Central Park, there was a, sort of informal agreement between police and, dog owners that before, I think it was like 7 a.m. They would be allowed to let the dogs off the leash, and after that, so, there's some casual agreements. But I mean, I think I'd like to see what Rupel comes up with, and then we can bring it back here next month.
I do think it's important not to be too restrictive and kind of punish the people with, it's skirting the rules a little bit, but I think most dog owners are pretty respectful, but there is a percentage, I think, that they just don't think of other people besides that, so.
Especially when it comes to off leash, when they just.
You
Yeah,
also see it on the High Line where dogs are not allowed
Yeah.
and people,
That
but
makes sense,
the
though.
claim
So
is always that
confined
it's a service animal.
By the way, it's also it's a issue when you're a dog owner that, like, for your own dog, because when you have other dogs that are, that, like I said, that 10% that don't really, I'll walk into a dog run and like, I have to pick my dog immediately because the owner is just really bad etiquette. So it definitely is an issue.
So Sandra, you're way over there. We just barely can see.
Yeah.
What did you say about dogs?
Okay, just checking.
I had something to hear from you.
Okay, so we'll wait to hear from health on the issue. So that was new business. Is there any other new?
I don't know if you got the email. I had volunteered to be the liaison to the 13th precinct, because I think it would be great to have input from the, have a relationship with our local police department. So we did contact them. And finally, the person did get back to me, saying that they don't do a liaison. I could come there as other people in the community do. I'm gonna push it because I think there should be a formal relationship as opposed to a one can drop by. I didn't like that. I thought actually I thought it was a little bit disrespectful because we should be in a more egalitarian relationship with them. So I'm going to pursue that and see what we can do.
Thank you, and, you know, that may have been sloppy language on their part. They do, you know, the, people from the DA's office appear there, people from elected.
No, they
officials.
said anybody could come.
Anyone
But
could-
the notion of having a particular relationship with the community board, they don't do. And I think that needs to be rethought.
I think that would be great.
So, we'll
And,
see.
and you'll also find, I think, you're talking about the 13th precinct.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to be involved with the 17th, that would also be good. And remember the
All right,
17th.
I think we should probably do one.
Yeah,
Let's just try this one out and see what happens. I'm sorry, what was you said?
No, I had a conversation with Sandy about that, but I need to remember what I said.
You don't remember?
Yeah.
I'm glad you raised it.
Can we have them come in person? It'll be a lot safer, not that it's not safe now.
But please. You've been here the whole time. How can you sit here silently when it's so exciting?
Well, that's exciting and, you know, really a lot of important things going on here. So I'm a little, this would also, if you record it, you could sell it and put people right to sleep.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot.
Just for the
But-
record, it is recorded.
Right.
Sorry,
It's not for sale.
So if you need to sleep one night, pull it. I'm Barbara Schildkraut. I live on 21st Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. My neighbor is the 13th precinct. I don't think that my concern fits into anything you've talked about. Because of the 13th precinct. They're not good neighbors in terms of sanitation. Just sanitation. If you look at the sidewalk right in front of the precinct, it's all broken up. It looks like it was last repaired maybe a couple of centuries ago. There are thousands of cigarette butts because at the time of the change in, you know, another group come in and the guys are all standing there and smoking and like 50 cigarettes are right away left all over the sidewalk in all those cracks. And, you know, I walk by, I actually took a picture, I'll just show maybe one of you. A barrier, those old wooden barriers painted blue. This one is, you know, has been through a lot, but it's one of those barriers that's been sitting there for maybe 15 years. In the, not on the sidewalk, well, I keep throwing it off, this police put it on the sidewalk and I keep throwing it into the street. My block is a parking lot for the police. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Most of the time, if you step off of the sidewalk, I jaywalk a lot. So you know, if I see, I can get across and then not have to wait for a red light or something. I'm a big jaywalker. So, but you have to be careful because the mud right off of the sidewalk is about 3 inches thick going into the street. And that's how we live. I passed by just like a week ago and there was a dead rat on the sidewalk. And last summer there was another dead rat. It's just beyond disgusting. That's on one block. I'm sick and tired of it. And I mentioned it as I passed the dead rat, I said, there's a rat over there, dead rat. He said, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, our transportation committee has also been focused on some of the police precincts because of where they park. And there are issues, of course, about parking plate abuses where people get these permits to park their personal vehicles and they park them when they shouldn't, which is an issue on that block as well.
that the Department of Sanitation cleans a portion of that street is whenever they tell, I guess they call the precinct and say, we're coming tomorrow or whatever it is. And right in front of the precinct, it's like spick and span. Everywhere else, there's mud right off of the sidewalk in the street. It's just beyond belief.
So that's interesting,
It's
actually, there's no
beyond-
alternate side of street on,
Yeah.
on
Can
the.
I ask this, can I ask, is this, are you
Yeah.
saying that it's right in front of the precinct, or is it that, like, is the precinct that's not cleaning up, or is it just happen to be adjacent to the precinct?
The Department of Sanitation does not clean the street,
Okay.
except
For the
when they
precinct.
come to clean right in front of the precinct.
Yeah,
Why? Because there are police cars all over the street,
I see.
all the time, 24 hours a day,
Yeah.
7 days a week.
So they can't street sweep because the cars.
Here's the-
Right, because there's no alternate side of street
Sorry,
there.
my knee. Here's that barrier that's lying, this is right outside my apartment door.
Yeah.
There's a police car and a little bit of the street, I tried to put everything in there. But that barrier has been sitting in the street for 15 or 20 years. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I feel like this has been an issue before, hasn't it? Like, because I remember like a meeting 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I came to, I think it was in the team.
Before,
Before I was
many
on the
times.
board.
But I complained to the police.
Could you
In
just,
one
could you
ear,
just show the
the other
picture
ear.
to, just show the picture to Sandra so she has a grasp of it. You volunteered, this is what happened.
Yeah.
What I want. There's the barrier.
It all comes with the territory.
The mud there. My building is right over here. Got it.
It's, so what you'll find at the community, council meeting is that there will be some complaints about police. Most of the time, people go there and complain that they're not getting enough policing. So it's a combination of things. So it will include issues like this.
Right. What, is this surprising to you?
It's which surprising.
Oh, what I'm talking about?
No, I was actually listening to, actually, the issue is, there's no place for people to park, right? I mean, I don't know how you address the issue, I get it.
Well,
Police officers are parking there, they're never cleaning.
Huh? Is what?
there's no alternate side of street.
There's no, and the cops come in from wherever they're coming in from.
Yeah.
And they've got no place to park the car, so there's issues, on top of issues. There's a final issue of they can't get the street clean, but in fact, these people are driving in from wherever they drive in now. I think that the notion of having to be a resident of the city is no longer true for police. That's right. So that means a lot of them are driving in and they've got no place to park the car. That's a real problem. And so that's a layer that, however it has to be addressed, it has to be addressed. So there's no cleanup that's going on. So that's what I was here. Actually, that was how it got processed for me.
On the other, on 20th Street, but between 2nd and 3rd, is this enormous facility owned by the police. I'm not sure what it's called, but you can't even get near it. I mean, they have guards
The old
outside.
Academy building.
The old Academy
Right.
building. They have parking under there.
Well, we're looking at, I think land use, is looking at seeing if that can be, repurposed.
Yes.
Well, let's do that, follow up with DSNY to see if they can find, why is it they can't clean it up because it's just every day it's parked there? Is that?
There's no
24
alternate,
hours a day.
there's no alternate side.
Yeah, so,
So,
Streets never open, it's clean. You'll see all these wrecked cars.
yeah,
That are just parked there until they can get rid of them.
it's kind of a conundrum.
Yeah.
But it's really No, it's there's so much stuff disgusting. It's-
Yeah, yeah.
And it doesn't have to be disgusting.
It's a residential
Doesn't have to be
street.
there.
Even if it was cleaned once, at least, but if it's just
Like,
piling up.
don't leave
yeah.
your
cigarette butts all over the sidewalk.
Pick
up a dead rat if it's there.
My building, in front of my building, that you have to take 2 steps down. And so there's a little area that's about the width of the building. Which is kind of unusual. Most buildings don't have that. And then there's a front door
So people walking by,
So you're-
they think it's a
Oh, that's
garbage
true.
place and they throw their garbage down there.
Okay, so we'll,
One of the things we're talking about is that the relation between that precinct, whatever precinct, and the community
Yeah.
is up in arms right now. It's not, there's no place for that to get worked out. And so it gets played out, right? And so.
Where is the person, you know, of all of these people in Sutton Place and Beekman Place and
Very well considered.
where is the person representing my neighborhood? Because I'm sitting here for, I don't know, 3 hours. I don't even know that I should have come here. It's just that I saw, you know, community board and I just wanted to.
that's
Well,
an
you
issue.
have been heard. You have
Yeah,
been
and-
heard. That's important that you came.
And if you want to, I mean, this is how the association started, and I started two nonprofits, community nonprofits in this district. You just go out, find people and start one, start your own, and then it grows from there.
Yeah, and one thing you saw when we had neighborhood associations is they bring some clout to the community voice. So if you actually could, there is a Gramercy.
There is a Gramercy.
The Gramercy was mentioned. I'd like to know who that was.
Your Gramercy.
I don't know what their footprint they
Gramercy.
consider. There might be.
Yeah.
I don't know what their footprint is either, but
You look online and find it. Look up Gramercy
it
Association
was
or
called what? The Gramercy Neighborhood Associates? Look that
It's
up.
always the Gramercy thing's always
Yeah.
complicated.
There's a difference.
Yeah, see if you can be in touch with them and see.
Gramercy Neighborhood Associates.
That's, Ryan, that's what they're called, right? Yeah.
Do you have a name or a email address or
We do
something you
have
could
an
send me? I'll give you my email address.
Sure, I think we actually already have your
Oh,
email.
you got my email
Yeah,
address.
Okay, before we can continue this conversation, but we can also.
I'm not done with new business because I need to say again,
Please.
my extreme urgent concern for the well-being of all citizens is getting our face and face and voice
Fake.
copyrighted and protected. This is happening fast. And people are getting calls, they think it's from like the head of Citibank. I mean, people are already using voices and elderly people especially because they have gotten so sophisticated.
Yes, it sounds like,
It's so
And
sophisticated.
that's an area
And
that
it-
would be an expert that you would, so
yeah,
I'd
look, we
like,
can talk about that. I mean, we can.
Well,
You may,
Senator Gonzalez was at the last
You may, if
full board
Yeah,
yeah, if she could leave.
and she
Oh,
said they,
I'm sorry, yes, Brian will get the information to
So I
you.
can go.
And-
Yes.
Yeah.
and follow up with us.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And what I'd like to suggest is, I understand the issue, not well, but I understand it generally. I think the ideal would be for the two of you, and maybe you if you want, to come up with a strategy for how we address that. Again, it's it's a global issue.
yes, but if we.
I just wanna keep it
something on the
like scopes,
state,
but yeah,
because federal, it's just not gonna happen now, federal.
yeah.
Nothing like that's ever gonna happen right now. But, and so the experts are saying the state can, they get it started. I think whoever does, and Senator Gonzalez mentioned something, but I don't think she mentioned voice. And I said to her, are you talking about face and voice? And she said she's talking about, what do they call that? All your like
Intellectual
fingerprints. What is it called? There's a name.
Yeah, I know you're saying digital, it's like a
Just
digital.
lost
Name
it.
and likeness, what do you?
No, it's a,
Yeah.
it's your dia something. Anyway, we have to stay on top.
Biometrics or something.
Yes, biometrics. That's it.
Take their time.
This is serious, guys. I want you all to be afraid because it's serious.
Well, the other thing I was just say, if you like understood with the AI, with how the technology works, it's really like, it's like conversation to text and it can just quickly change it. And I mean, I could go on Claude right now and build that, like,
Yeah.
but I'm saying
It's
anything.
That's
so
why we don't
easy.
trust you.
Yeah.
And there's no
I'm sorry,
filtering.
who are other assembly members?
Boris would be really, loves
I've been talking to his office. I know Gonzalez is on it, but sometimes they just jump on things and they don't fully understand.
Well, she's chair of the technology.
I think
committee.
Boris understands
She
it
does.
very well. So I think, I'm sorry?
Alex Forrest.
Well, I've been talking to,
Really, yeah.
they've been calling me because they wanted me to volunteer. And I
Do you
just-
know it was them?
Oh, yeah.
No, I didn't know, because I knew
Somebody's
that I, no, I
So,
knew.
Gloria, do you know-
So,
Do you know if there's any, there's other state legislation or anywhere else that, or city legislation that's been?
I don't think there's anything right now,
Yeah,
but.
I just think it has to be
whoever gets
scoped
on it,
appropriately,
It's
but
extremely innovative.
Yeah.
It's really leading the way, and it's simple. Why can't I own my face and my voice? Now, will that prevent everyone from using it potentially? No, but you have recourse.
Right.
There's no recourse anymore. That's just like, the same thing we're trying to do in these other things. So anyway, we'll talk.
Yeah, I mean, if the two of you, can come up with a strategy and let's adjourn the meeting
Yes,
now.
let's adjourn.
I had one just really quick new business thing, but I just thinking through that like next month, and I brought this up on executive board, but is there anything in anticipation of the World Cup that we need to talk about? Or do you think that, because it's coming?
No,
Safety?
Yeah, just I wasn't sure, because by the time that, we're gonna have an influx of people into our community, and I just wasn't sure if we needed to discuss.
did you want to propose something? Or?
They
I don't really-
said they would have like alcohol in the street or something.
Oh, what happened with that? Does anyone?
I don't know what happened.
That wasn't fully decided yet.
Right, it didn't happen.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, open containers, not a thing we do.
If you want to propose, I mean, I think the tentative plan right now for, next month is public safety, driven by the incident in Skytown.
yeah.
And that's where I'd like to focus.
If there, I'll look into it, if there's something that's worth it.
Okay,
Yeah.
and bring it to us.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask if there's a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion, wow, that's a multiple motion. This meeting